Welcome to the October 21st Jail and Zones production user call. We have Jan, Roller, Philip, and myself, Michael, so far, and we are bantering about related topics. And Roller, it sounds like you didn't go with Nginx, you didn't go with HA proxy, you went with. Take it away.
Yeah, so you make a Caddy file, and the entry in the Caddy file can literally just be a domain name, and then in curly braces, you just put reverse proxy and then your jail IP, and then it'll do TLS for you. It'll rotate the certificates when they expire before they expire, and now you just need a way to get to that IP address of your jail. So my idea is to run the jails at the house on my fiber. I just got the 8 gig fiber
Hmm.
plan from Quantum Fiber, and it actually goes up at 8. So I'm just going to put all the jails on my big 128 gig Ryzen 9 Beast machine that I built, and just go rent a server at Hetzner, put Caddy on it, and WireGuard and connect it in, and now I'll have a public IP address to get to all my stuff at my house. And the plan is just to build everything there, databases, web servers, Python applications, all that stuff.
For the reverse proxy. And remind our listeners, can Let's Encrypt do wildcard? So it's asterisk roller.com.
Yeah, you just got to do it with the DNS method if you want a
Ah,
wildcard.
use the DNS. Go ahead.
The other question is, why do you need wildcards when you can generate it on the fly?
No, well, you tell
How
me, because it sounds like you're doing a lot of services, and what I wouldn't want is a uh, Let's Encrypt session per service, unless that's a preferred way. I'm all ears.
I would say that's kind of preferred because that way each service has its own private key, and so if one private key gets compromised, not
Yep.
everything gets
Got it.
compromised because it shares the same yeah, private key for and wildcard certificate.
Got it. Cool.
Right. And that's the attraction of Caddy is you're literally just managing this domain name points to this IP address file instead of trying to deal with Acme or some other thing on the side of HA proxy or Nginx. So, and plus you don't have to do all the other fancy things. Like if you want to customize headers, you can just make uh, a header statement in there with some curly braces and just throw some headers on there, custom headers or whatever you want.
Upstream at the reverse proxy.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Caddyserver.com.
And
Um,
also mention that I seen Caddy in Michael Lucas's newest book,
Ah,
um, his Networking for System Administrators version 2. If you look closely, he when he hits MWL.io, and as an example in his book, it'll say the server name is Caddy. And you go, ah.
and I trust you're paying for a fixed IP at Hetzner or something wild and dynamic with all this.
Um, right now I'm testing out the IPv6 stuff. I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
Okay.
Hetzner just gives you that for free, but you can pay for an IPv4 if you want to.
And are you, out of curiosity?
I haven't set up the IPv4 yet. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the IPv6. I took Massimo, or I think that's his name.
Yeah,
I took
Stuckey.
the IPv6 tutorial in BSDCAN, and I mean, it's amazing and it seems like it makes sense. It's just you need to get yourself a block to work with. And then
Right.
the fact that Hetzner gives you one makes it way easier because you're not trying to go register one with Ripe or trying to, it's a chicken and egg thing. It's like you need your block, but then once you have it, I was recommended to go to Hurricane Electric. You can get a little tunnel
Yeah, they've
broker
done the tunnels
thing.
from early on.
So
Totally.
they still do that, but for
Cool.
what I need, I think it's easier to just get it from the cloud provider and then just connect. Oh, and
Ooh.
then turns out WireGuard can do behind your jails can be behind a NAT. You don't have to do anything crazy. Your jail can just reach out to the cloud at their public IP address and create the VPN tunnel, and you
And
don't
you
have to do any.
mentioned a WireGuard mesh. Was that with just a simple config, or I've seen some mesh tools? Did
It's
you grab something upstream?
I didn't want to use Tailscale or any of the mesh tools because it doesn't make sense to me to have all this custom everything's FreeBSD and then all of a sudden you go use a
Right.
email address at some service
I'm
somewhere
gonna mute for a second.
to
Go ahead.
to set up all your keys for you and it's like, wait, hold on, why would I do that? Um, so the WireGuard config is actually really straightforward, right? Like you run you run a couple WireGuard commands to generate public private keys on each side, and then you just make a WireGuard config and put the public key for the opposite side in the config, and then it works. And you're like, oh, wow, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be. Um, so yeah, WireGuard plus Caddy, all of a sudden you're doing stuff that NHA proxy and IPsec used to be a little bit of a, a dog to set up, you know, with making your own CA and dealing with all that, reading TLS mastery and going, oh, maybe I really don't understand uh, TLS as much as I thought I did, you know, or um, there is a good tool though if you're doing your own CA that I found out about at BSDCan. Let me see if I got the link for it because that was a really cool tool. It'll kind of just walk you through a bunch of the stuff, so you're not trying to remember what all the OpenSSL commands are, but you can do it all manually. You just need Michael's book to do it. I think I've got it. Oh, what was it called? Oh, I don't remember right now, but I'll see if I can find it.
Quick point of order. Did everyone see the lovely dated Internet Explorer and Netscape Now logos at the bottom of the beautiful Caddy site? It's like a totally new site, but old school footer. Love it.
Oh,
And
that's
it's
funny.
Apache 2.0. That's cool.
Nice.
In Go, it looks like.
Joking aside, the Strongson IPsec package has about the friendliest command and interface for dealing with X509 certificates I know. The PKI command just is so much cleaner to use than OpenSSL. And it
Oh, interesting.
can do basically everything you ever want from your own CA.
Oh, yeah.
So no need
I
for
use
running easy
StrongSwan, but
RSA or
I never
some
tried that.
restrictive bullshit like that. Or hand assembling everything. You can give it the important parts in the command line and the parameter like the certificate request you can just pipe in easily. So it's really the file input is always just standard in if you want to. So it's scripting friendly, can act as a filter. Yeah, it's a lot easier to script against.
Hello, Jamie. Welcome. And I had to step away. Did you mention any fancy WireGuard mesh or just you just set it up yourself?
Just basic WireGuard.
Cool. Uh, Jamie, we were going off about Caddy and WireGuard and StrongSwan, and I remembered you mentioned having a patch to allow for I believe it was PID1 on a jail for early hosting activities.
Did one on a jail-like thing, yeah.
Yes. Did
I've
you
not done
find
anything
that in
with
the
that yet.
archives? Did you find the attic or in the basement or garden shed?
Oh, I know where my old code
Okay.
is, yeah.
Okay, cool. So just a friendly nudge there. That was exciting because it seemed like a much simpler solution to a problem people are having. Cool. That said, do you have any news to report now that I'm sure the 15 door is just about closed
Only
or
boring
close?
news. Fixed a
Only
couple of
boring
bugs
news.
that'll be getting in.
Oh, great. Got it. Jamie, if I can spell it. Thanks. That will get. And it sounds like from the last call, executable jail.conf will be kicked down the road to a future release, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And is there any work for Jan to do, or is it to meet your mutual liking? Whose court is that in?
I think there was a little touch up. I was relaxing the requirement since it wasn't going in 15 and not making it so you have to have the dash X, and
Ah,
there are a
good.
few other little things. Just little things though.
Cool. And Jan, you've got your
So
hand
there are
up.
like 2 points for me which are actionable. That is, remove the dependency on having the file descriptor file system mounted at /defd, because I was reopening with the file descriptor with an empty path and so on. Open it. Was getting a bit too fancy, and it only works if you have /dev fdisk mounted. And I think it's even dependent on the specific mount flag I prefer to have on all my systems. So it's definitely too fragile and unreasonable. And there is no real reason this needs to be like this. It's just I tried it like this, it worked well, and it did exactly the thing I wanted, because I normally mount my fdisk FS like this, so that I have it mounted with no drop behavior, because that's what I prefer. But it's definitely not universal, and I cannot assume that this is the place. So that's has to get fixed. And the other one is the parser bug, where um, basically after the closing of child jail, the way I initially retrieved the latest jail is wrong, because I don't have to retrieve the latest jail, but the top of the parser stack jail, and that is already tracked in the parser. And instead of just trying to find out which jail is currently active, the parser has that state. I just have to make it not static and then use it. And I have that commit on my uh, lab machine. I just have to redo the review for that. And at the same time, I would like to remove the -x requirement, because that makes it harder to use it through VRC scripts and so on. Because, yeah, always popping through the flag is annoying.
Ready then.
So, yeah, the ball is in my court and it's actionable.
So in the context of it always being too early and too late for the next major release, do we have any mega wish list items for FreeBSD 15.1 or 16?
For 15.1, I would like to see the jail get put in and then MFC'd, the executable jail.conf.
Wow. Yep,
But
that. Cool. Anything
wish
else
list item
broadly,
for me would
wildly?
be for VNet jail to have a non-Ethernet pair interface, so a pure layer 3 point-to-point pair interface. Probably it should be just called IF pair instead of IFE pair, so that we don't have to deal with Ethernet underneath if you want to route your VNet jails. Point pure layer 3 interface. That would be nice to have, so that you don't need have to deal with Ethernet if you don't want to.
Did you mention working on a jail monitor?
Yes and no. I wrote a little utility uh, called Jailwatch or JWatch. So Jamie should already have a copy of the code. I don't know if you've had time to read the code.
That's yes and no. I do have a copy. It remains unopened so far.
So let me take the screen share and show
Sure.
what it does for a second.
Yes, please.
Uh, Which one is the right one? Then you see I think I have the wrong.
It's
Uh,
tiny, but yes, that was a full
Let me
display.
pick a up. So
Real quick, I've got to run.
Yes.
Jan, I'll watch this later, but you were gonna suggest a way to do IPv6 to the jails.
Oh
Um,
yeah, let's do
and
that
then
quick.
the tool is called Small Step CA. Small Step has a tool that will help you build your CA and run it. All right.
Taking off.
So for IPv6, my first approach would be to give your jails IPv6 addresses and route them through WireGuard out of a /64 prefix the hoster assigns you. So your hoster will give you normally a /64 for each machine. You just route the traffic through. It depends on your hoster's network if you have to do an NDP proxy to them or if they just do basically pure layer 3 to port routing as a physical port on the top of rack switch or in the virtual network. If they do that, then you don't even have to answer the NDP for the IP address because basically everything gets delivered to your machine if it's for your prefix. This is the nice thing about Hetzner's network that it, as far as I know, is configured universally to do that, at least for the dedicated servers. Then you don't have to mess with NDP proxy and just route certain IP addresses out of your range and it will work. And this allows you then to just have your jails use the IP addresses. You may have to deal with setting up the routing correctly, maybe have a second routing table so that the jail will route it back. Or you put the jail behind an unnumbered point-to-point interface. If you have one jail which acts as your WireGuard, and then the other one's attached to that via ePairs, you can have a routed network within your home server, where one jail is just your gateway to the cloud, and do it like that. Then you don't even have to deal with any firewall rules to do the policy routing. You just use the additional jail. Yeah. And the nice thing about that is that you have a true routed end-to-end addressing into your jail from the outside. And to make the services in the jail reachable via the virtual machines or dedicated servers IPv4 address, you can make it easy on yourself. And because most services these days use HTTPS, use the server name indicator header in the field, whatever, in the TLS handshake to dispatch on that. So Nginx and HA proxy and dedicated tools like SNI proxy can dispatch based on this server name indicator. That way you take in the new TCP connection, buffer enough to see the name, and then dispatch on the name, establish a TCP connection to the destination, send off the buffered few hundred bytes, and just let the connection progress. This does work with anything which uses SNI within TLS, so not quick, basically not for HTTP 3. But that has few advantages anyway. And that
Well,
gives you a proxy which does not decrypt the traffic. So you see the attack surface of having your proxy process plain text and then re-encrypting it. It also saves you the latency and performance overhead in general of decrypting and re-encrypting, which is why I would recommend trying this.
okay. Well, let's get to your demo.
So this is a little I will start that jailwatch command. I will make it a little bit larger so that it fits in one line.
Smaller.
So right now I have jails running. And if I stop my jail, bam, now I see during shutdown to do some cleanup, there's something attaching to the jail, something attaching to the jail again. So the event type, the jail ID, and the process ID. The process ID is only available if the command is fast enough to not miss any event to consume, because if there are several events buffered, there's no storage space to track all the process IDs. Then I can only report, hey, at least 2 processes with unknown process IDs attached to the jail. Normally the process ID is needed anyway. And then jail remove tells me this jail ID has been removed. So now I will stop the other jails. Bam. This jail got stopped first because this jail was its dependency. So jail did the dependency resolution and stopped the jail depending on the one I stopped. And now if I start it again, starting 3 jails, you can see that I see that prison 0, so the host has a new child jail. It's a top level jail, which is not a child of any other jail, but of the host. Then some command attached to the jail. Then a new jail got created. And now in quick succession, 3 commands attached to the jail. What's important with this is, let's say I change this here. Quickly, let's see. So if I change my template here, so we can see that the jail got modified. And now if I go into the jail, we get the event, okay? As we can see, the jail got removed by the kernel. And normally now we wouldn't be able to do the cleanup anymore, but thankfully Jamie implemented this for 15, that we can now still do the cleanup to unmount the file systems and so on. And in theory, we could write a little script which would wait for a jail remove event and then obtain some log file with the jail name in it and do a jail-c to basically run the post stop and release hooks and unmount the file systems if you had something like a jail device file system and a jail file descriptor file system mounted, or anything else with the jail's FS stub.
So what does the Silverton smell test say?
Hmm?
I'm referring to Jamie. What's your smell test on this? Is that sounding like the right approach? Sane? Rational?
Yeah, expected, certainly, yeah. Yeah, it seems like the right thing.
But
Cool.
the even better way to do it would be to make it a feature in the jail command, so that the jail commands could just get run, and basically you would send a zig term to the jail command to stop the jail. And if the jail dies on its own, it would do the proper cleanup. Of course, if it dies on its own, you can't do a pre-store. Maybe if you use this feature, the jail command should warn you if you have a pre-stop command.
Yeah.
Stop is no longer needed if the jail has died, right? So it's kind of okay to have a clean shutdown, but if it happens, there's not, you don't have to run RC shutdown if there are no processes left in the jail and it got garbage collected. And then you could have a jail command which matches the lifetime of the jail. It should probably also own the jail through jail descriptor so that if the jail
Oh,
command gets
definitely.
killed, the jail gets garbage collected by the kernel by force, which would have the nice side effect that, yeah, the jail command now plays nice with um, the process lifetime would basically match the jail lifetime, which would make for a very resilient CI/CD pipeline if you do it right. Because I think you can now basically do in the same jail set command the jail creation, obtaining a file descriptor for it, and setting the file descriptor owned, right?
Yeah.
So you could create a jail, you would get a descriptor, which if you close the descriptor, the jail gets destroyed. So if the jail process dies for some reason, like some stupid super user running kill 9 on it and having a fat finger moment where you accidentally, I don't know, kill the wrong process and it happens to be this jail command, the jail wouldn't just be dangling around forever.
Right. The only things like
And
file systems and such like that would be.
yeah, one thing I would like to see improved in the jail command itself too would be the resiliency of file system mounting. Right now, even if you give the jail command an FS tab, it does not you pipe that into the mount command, but it processes each line on its own and lacks the idempotency logic of the mount command. So if you do a mount dash A and the file systems are already partially mounted, only the missing ones get mounted. But the J command does not have this logic. And in my opinion, there's no reason why it should re-implement the logic or duplicate the code. It could just pipe out to the mount command.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
then it would, in my opinion, it should do it so that you can basically say, I want to put something early, then the auto-generated mount points, and then something late. So after def and /def and /defFD, or you could just make it so that you can say an FS tab early or late or whatever. There are different variations you can do that. But eventually the jail command would just effectively write a FS tab, a single one, to a pipe which is consumed by the mount command as standard input. And if that command succeeds, all the file systems have been mounted. The enormous advantage of doing this is that you would not prevent a jail from starting if its file systems are already mounted or partially mounted. Instead, it would just say, oh, that's fine, let's just continue. The file system is already mounted, rather than it's broken and a new user has no idea how to untangle that mess. And there are dozens of forum posts where people just basically tell each other, yeah, I had to give up and reboot the host every time I break a jail configuration like that.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable feature on its own.
So
I've got a mind in the future for something on the kernel side with mount points. I would like to see them owned by jails. So on the kernel side, when a
mhm.
jail goes away, so does its mount points, and a way to assign existing mount points to jail, so you can
Yep.
create a jail root, start a jail, give that root to its jail.
Oh yes, that would be a nice safety feature. So here, for example, the API is present. Watch all watches all jails. Watch by jail ID, watches by jail ID. And then you have the helper function to dispatch for jail by from KQ by jail ID and by jail descriptor. And that's one little annoyance I had to deal with. So I have to track if I'm already. So if I get told that I should watch jail, but I could also be already watching that jail effectively during startup. So when I'm giving a jail, I have to scan all its children in, and if at that time I get an event, so there's a chance that I'm trying to track a jail twice, and I don't want to generate the event twice in this race condition. So instead, I have a little metadata structure which tracks basically by jail ID the descriptor, so that I don't subscribe two descriptors to the same jail.
Oh, okay.
And I need a few special cases. So the find all watches. Yeah, if I want to watch for events, I first have to watch prison 0, so the host, and then I watch the existing jails. So to watch prison 0, I register an event using the new filter Jamie added, where I can watch for jail events by jail ID with jail ID 0, which is your host. So if you're on the host, it's everything. If you're in a jail, it's your child jails. And the only event you can get there is the child creation. In theory, at least in stable, but I think that didn't make it into 15.0. You can ask it to auto track, right? So that the kernel will attempt to register any new child jails with the KQ. But that doesn't really work for me here. Because I want a jail descriptor, so that I can also loop over the children of the jail without looping over all jails. So to watch a single jail ID, what I do is I find if I'm already watching it. If I'm already watching it, that's fine. If not, from my kind of index, I allocate a new metadata structure to track that jail. If it's option that can fail if the jail gets removed while I'm doing this. So this is racy. The fix is to make it optional. So if the tracking the jail is optional because it's just a child jail of one of the ones I have explicitly given and it died while the command is starting up, I just ignore that. Because hey, it's basically I lost the race, there's nothing I can do. But it was basically almost dead when I started, right? But if it's one of the ones specified on the command line, because you can also watch only specific jails and their children, if it's one of the jails explicitly given on the command line, registering for it is mandatory, and if it dies, then the jail does not exist and you misuse the command. So now I register a jail descriptor with the kernel on the KQ, and I want all the possible events. My UData is the metadata, and I put the jail ID here in the extension because I can only put a pointer in UData, at least on architectures where pointers don't fit in UN64 like Cherry. So it has to be this way around. This is just a helper function to get the KQ out of a static variable. It's basically a singleton constructor. Yeah, a bit of very defensive programming. To watch the existing ones, here I made use of a nice feature where with drip jail.get I can loop over the by last ID, but that's not the one I wanted to show. Jail.get. Yeah. One of the new features in 15 is to use jail at desk. So you give the iterator a jail descriptor, and then it does the jail iteration as if you had jail attached without having to jail attach. This way I can loop over only the descendants of the jail I'm currently tracking. So to watch the descendants. It's not just a single level, it's all nesting levels if you have nested jails, which is quite useful. Because, yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Philip, do you have anything? Go ahead, Jan.
No, I was just catching up on participating, so I didn't have any specific things to talk about today.
No
So
worries at
the
all.
queue is really simple from the API it offers. It's just a function which gets you the global KQ and obtains it as needed. Signal.h, it's does the signal handling, and then main.c been simplified a lot, so it passes the arguments. You can the only flag it takes is the -j, and it requires an argument which has to be a jail. And then if no jail has been given on the command line, it watches all jails. The loop is about the simplest KQ event loop you can have. Get a single event at a time. So no need to deal with, oh, has this event invalidated this? Because I'm consuming them one at a time. I don't expect there to be a high enough rate that this is a performance problem. So there's in theory, KQ can return an interrupt. Okay, then I do the loop again. Oh, it's fatal. And then the loop dispatches on the event filter. I'm doing signal handling via KQ because I want to handle sick info to then just dump the state of all tracked jails. Like I'm tracking these jails. Not yet implemented, but trivial to add. So the only filters other than signal I expect are jail and jail descriptor. Any other filter is obviously a bug. Yeah, in the main function sets up signal handling via KQ, passes the arguments, and then dispatches events in the event loop. You get out of the event loop in a non-fatal way by returning a negative value, which is treated as return 0, and any positive value as an exit code greater than 1, greater or equal than 1. So yeah, fairly simple command.
Cool.
So I'm happy
Anything
to say,
else at this
Jamie, your
time?
jail descriptors work and really help track jail state changes.
Great.
I haven't tried using them with jail set, jail attach, and so on. I guess the next thing, especially when it comes to FreeBSD service management, would be to make basically every safety feature of jails optional so that we can have the null or NOP jail for resource tracking and service management. So that you can basically do double jailing, where the outer jail is only for resource tracking and service management, or potentially for effectively unjailed services on the host, which may have to load a kernel module or whatever. You don't want them for security containment, but just for process tracking, like has the last process of this service died, basically. I know this idea has come up several times in the last 2 decades. and has never been implemented, but it shouldn't be technically hard to implement because Prison Zero already is a prison which has no security restrictions. Why can't we have effectively several of those, but still separate from Prison Zero just for tracking processes? I think we will not just want to have it internally, but it's potentially also
Stepping
the
away.
building block we need to implement C groups for the Linux ABI. As more and more software uses it for stuff like real-time scheduling and so on.
Yeah, well, if anybody wants to bite that one off.
So yeah. But I'm pretty sure that whenever this patch will appear on the mailing list or in Fabricator, there will be a massive bike shedding discussion to be had.
Jan, what inspired all this? Just intuition or Plan 9 or zones or Opec and Goldberg?
What inspired what part? The
A,
command I wrote or the idea of
a
the
broader view of jail cleanup handling and supervision and niceties.
my frustration with having jails which fail to start be stuck in a state where you have corrected the configuration error, but it still won't start because of the lingering problem, mostly bound points you created. So what I automate for my jails these days is to have an exec.prepare hook, which unmounts all file systems under the jail path. So either a perfect match with the jail path or the jail path and then something after the slash. With the reason being that this is the easy to script by just filtering mount-p's output. And also it makes the startup a lot more reliable because I'm always starting from a clean slate. The jail is basically an empty directory with nothing mounted in if it's not running. Yes, sometimes it's convenient to look into the jail without starting it. Then you have to mount it. But by always unmounting it on startup, that's quite useful because it means you're always starting from a clean state. You don't have this intermediate state you have to resume from. And then I mount the ZFS file systems and then the non-ZFS file systems. Mounting
then.
the ZFS file systems, as I've shown in my UBSDCon talk, I simplified by creating the jail file systems in a current data set, which is unmountable and only acts as a container in ZFS to hold several data sets. And the mount points just get sorted by their mount point and then mounted in their sorting order, lexical order of mount point. But yeah.
Cool.
Then you can have non-automatic file systems be mounted through the ZFS mount command whenever you start the jail. Doesn't take a lot of time, easy to script, and solves this reliability problem. That if the last time the jail failed to start, it left something mounted, the next startup will also fail. Yeah.
Okay. I need to run. Any last thoughts, ideas, humorous bits, you name it? Well, great. Thank you, everyone. Yes, I heard a utterance.
Oh, no, I didn't
Okay.
have any additional things. Thanks.
Would you like the honors, Philip?
Oh, sure. Since I didn't contribute anything else, like and subscribe.
Thank you so much.